This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not stopping a Mercer Island street brawl, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
PrEP is a daily pill that can significantly reduce your chances of getting HIV. And typically, it takes a trip to a physician to get it. Now, you can visit select pharmacies, get tested on the spot, and walk away with your first month of PrEP. Plus, you'll also walk away with a $50 gift card after you complete your pharmacy visit. It's easier than ever to protect yourself from HIV. To find your nearest participating pharmacy, go to doh.wa.gov/PrEP now. From the Washington State Department of Health and Public Health, Seattle, and King County.
Join Rainier Avenue Radio from 5 to midnight for Sunday evening sound sessions. Jazz from the Cabinets from Big Poppy.
That's right. It's time once again for Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy.
Sergio LaCour's Love Lines.
It's Sergio's Love Lines with Sergio LaCour. Go to the phone line. Tell her who we talking to.
Sage Prince and Just My Opinion.
This is Sage, and that's just about going to do it for the first half of Just My Opinion.
K-Fox Nightbeat. Nasty Ness Rodriguez.
The beat of the Fox. K-Fox Nightbeat. Nasty Ness.
You know what? You're going to listen from 5 to midnight. Just turn it on and don't stop. DJ Alibaba. The Underground Surround Sound Star Time with Paul Pearson.
Thanks for tuning in. My name is Paul Pearson.
Sunday evening sound sessions on Rainier Avenue Radio. Trust me, you'll be listening the entire time from 5 to midnight. Sunday evening, your sound session on Rainier Avenue Radio.
You probably have questions about COVID vaccines. Here are some answers about how they're being made.
How are COVID vaccines being produced faster?
Usually, vaccine testing and production are separate steps. But because of the pandemic, vaccines are being developed on parallel tracks. So both steps are happening just at the same time.
How are the vaccines being tested?
Right now, several different COVID vaccines are in testing. Each go through multiple clinical trials with up to thousands of volunteers.
How do vaccines get approved?
Not all COVID vaccine versions will make it to the final stages of testing and approval. Produced vaccines that do not pass clinical trials will be destroyed. But for those that do pass, a team of medical experts will examine test results and possible side effects. If the vaccine is effective and safe, it gets approved and gets to you. Go to covidvaccinewa.org to learn more. A message from the state of Washington.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Check us out on social media. Facebook and Instagram, Rainier Avenue Radio.world, and on Twitter at Rainier Ave Radio.
You're listening to HeartBeat Radio. I'm your host, Cindi Bright. HeartBeat Radio is a conversation aimed to take the pulse of corporate America. Opportunities for people of color, we're getting lost in the shuffle of change. I'm that provocateur of change. The hearts of corporate America are addressed. Access and opportunities will be accelerated for all people. Through HeartBeat Radio, you will gain a deeper understanding of what is necessary for change.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to HeartBeat Radio and Podcast. I am your host, Cindi Bright. I hope you are having a good evening this evening, as Joy and I are going to have more conversations this evening to break down midterm elections. If you're following the news, you'll see that the thing declared for its run for public office again. You'll also have seen that the Republicans solidified the House. And so while the Democrats control the Senate, the fact that the Republicans now control the House means that we're in for another 2 years of nothing but gridlock. It's going to pause and put the agenda of Joe Biden. He's gonna just struggle to get things passed. And we all know who that's impacting the most. So if you think about student debt relief, that's on hold right now. What's this gonna mean when the pause of payments ends at the end of next month? What's it gonna mean for 2 years of having chaos again with somebody who spews hatred, unleashing these folks on us? What's this all gonna mean for us? Coming in the next 2 years. I know I personally wasn't ready to have that announcement made, and I know he's also doing it to escape justice. But what about us, just us? Let's welcome Joy in with me this evening to talk about what's going on. Hey, how are you this evening, Joy?
Told me something new. I'm more state focused, so I have not been watching the federal steps. So I didn't realize that they got the house today. That's new. So I was sitting here just a little bit shell shocked by that, because my thing is let's continue down the path of making sure we bring justice forth for what happened on January 6th. Now you're telling me we have to do that all before January 1, because after January 1, we will no longer have the house and they probably won't do it. And
we are again
kind of sick to my stomach. I'm kind of sick to my stomach.
I know I should have warned you.
Yeah.
By the way, I love the red going on there tonight.
Wow. Wow. That's all I can say. I mean, it was wow yesterday too. Let's talk about this part. This is a party that in no way has the values that, first of all, that the Dems have, that regular people, and when I say regular people, I just mean just your everyday working class, middle class folks do. They're supposed to be the party that's very Christian and upholds the Christian values. And there is nothing about their values, because
I wanted to play a song, but I can't.
I say Jesus hung out with a motley crew, and he was for poor people and taking care of poor people and taking care of our brothers and sisters. And they in no way, shape, or form, you are stopping a $10,000 forgiveness for student debt. Serious? Come on now.
There is no Jesus without justice. So no. And so, to your point about this right-wing group of folks who, I'm more concerned about the paralyzation now that everything is going to get gridlocked, because the student debt is now hung up in the courts. And this also means that Nancy Pelosi is no longer the Speaker of the House come January. So that's another interesting.
And he said he wanted America to see her hand him that gavel, and they're going to get their wish.
Yeah, this is going to be quite. And so I didn't watch the announcement last night. I saw that it was coming, and I refused to contribute to the numbers on people who capital G, capital A, capital F about his declaration. But I'm concerned about
the thing.
The thing. I can't even refer to that thing as a human or a person. This is a thing that won't go away, and its daughter claimed that it's not going to interested in politics anymore either. So she's moved aside, which is interesting. But this is absolutely crazy. And what I had said.
She said she doesn't want to have anything to do with it. That's because she knows her dad. That's because they're all in trouble. They're all in trouble.
Take them away. But look, as I said, and when I promoted the show, if this were a Black man who miraculously would have escaped being shot after just doing one of the atrocities that this guy, but it's interesting, because I think that, because I was like last night, like, God, what is going on?
Why are you putting us through this, Jesus?
What is happening? But that thing is an illustration. So even if we go back to last week's numbers and we can talk about local elections again, because I do want to talk about that tonight. But when you look at the increased number of people voting on that ticket, it's downright scary that the numbers continue to increase, not decrease. And so, the fact that, 70%, I think the number was 72% in Florida, right? Like that they still uphold this is a sickness. And I just can't even fathom what it's going to be like. I don't even want to turn on the TV. Hopefully the media doesn't give it any.
That's the other thing. Where is our media that's talking about all the wrong things that are happening? So like when we go back into session, when the federal congressional delegation goes back into session, why aren't we talking about all the things that they're doing good and then all the things that's happening, but not moving? Because that's what's going to happen this coming. Like you just said, everything's going to come to this kind of halt or gridlock. And why don't we have media talking about the gridlock?
Because media is owned by media is owned by his type. And so this is why we're on Black media outlets, because we're speaking in, truth and in a way that, like, I couldn't do this on, CNN. I mean, they would never have me allow me to.
We see what they did to, we see what they did to our sister on MSNBC. I'm like, really?
And she isn't, I mean, we don't speak anything that isn't the truth for us and our communities. It's just that we're not sugarcoating what's happening, and it's that we're not conforming to colonized views about what media should be like and how we should be and all that sort of stuff. But it isn't, I can't even begin. I mean, I was hoping he would be in handcuffs and locked up by now. I mean, we're just at 2 years from the insurrection. I mean, this guy perpetuated and still continues to reject that he lost in 2020. So, a lot, if the media gives this
I told them to stop taking our votes. I told them to stop taking our votes. I called them out, and so they stopped taking our votes. Those weren't your votes. I have something to tell you. Those weren't your votes.
Whew.
It's so much. It's
so
and now
much.
we're back to that. I don't know about you, but as soon as I got home last night and I heard he announced, my husband Dave said, well, he announced, and I'm like, now we have that fear of like, what happened today? Everybody had that when he was in office. What's gonna happen today? What happened today? What'd he say today? What'd he do today? I was really happy to be past that. But let's talk about who we have that's dynamic, that can step up and run and win. Who do we have that can step up and run and win? Michelle Obama. I'm gonna put it out there. I know she don't want to run, but I'm gonna put it out there. Michelle Obama.
Well, I'm more curious to see what's going to happen with who the Republican Party is actually going to nominate as the person that they want to put on the ticket, because it looks like Pence is probably going to announce.
Oh, he most definitely.
The other thing I think is going to be fascinating, I keep watching for her name to pop up. I'm wondering if Liz Cheney is going to run. So that's, I'm curious about that.
And is she going to run on a Democratic ticket?
Do you think she will?
You might want to change sides, sister. You can say Joy Stanford said I should change sides.
She's not going to change sides. And here, let's talk about the Dems, right? Because look, I'm not mired in politics. I'm not woven into the inner workings of it. I mean, I see it from this kind of work that I do.
Spectator view. We got the spectator view.
But watching how, well, let me say it this way. What's curious to me is knowing that the typical midterm is you lose seats. Why was more not done in the first 2 years of his presidency? And particularly because we owned the damn place. And so I don't know why, if I owned the place, it would be executive order after executive order after executive order, just getting it signed and pushing it through, because you had to know that we're going to run into this possibility that we lose the Senate or the House or both. You had to know this fool ain't going away. I mean, he's the epitome of white privilege, where can never be told no. And even when you lost and all the data shows you're wrong, you still can come back up and run for the top seat. I mean, isn't this indicative of the country? Isn't this what we live in and day out, that they don't pay the price for all the harm and destruction that they do to other people?
Exactly.
Right? So
exactly. Well, I also think we need to think about, well, first of all, it was not a red wave. I don't feel like it was a red wave. When you look at the numbers, I think I heard the numbers the other night when I was listening to MSNBC, and all the GOP was telling folks, this is going to be a red wave. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it just wasn't. It would, and I've been saying it was more like a dribble than a red wave. It was a little bit of a red dribble, which, okay, you got a little bit, you got something. Not here in Washington State, which we can talk about later. But my thing is, why, like you said, why does it take so long to get things done? Why are you just not going in there and voting on it, putting it out there, voting on it, making it happen? No matter if you have to go through a filibuster or not, we're just, okay, we'll let you guys talk, and then we'll do what we have to do and sign off on it. And you're right, get it done. But you have to remember, there's a lot of uneducated voters, a lot of uneducated voters that believe all the clickbait, talking points, just blurbs that they hear from whatever they're listening to, usually the wrong, type of shows that they're listening to. Those are the voters that they're getting, and they're getting more poor, uneducated voters to vote on that side than we are on our side. And that's where we need to do the work. We need to educate people. We need to educate people. Do your own homework, people. Stop listening to the sound bites.
They look, I'm just going to speak here in Washington State, because that there is truth to what you're saying. But there's also, when you look like this part of the world, the Seattle area is one of the most highly educated part of the world that there is. And yet, I just question, is this lack of education, or is this the fear? Is this fear that they're losing out on something and can't see past that they feel like it's gonna cost them something? And look, I can't even fathom put myself in Kentucky with the dumbest person representing their state, who's wealthy, right? So you look at the kind of money he's been able to build on their class, and that's where the highest demographic of people on welfare are, is in his state. And yet they keep voting for him. And so is that education, or is that brainwash? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't, I don't understand it. Nor do I think we have the time to try to educate folks that are unwilling. I mean, look.
To listen to reason.
Well, what is reason for them?
I don't know. I'm looking. Okay. So we've got 4.8 million voters, registered voters in this state. We had returned 3 million.
Are you talking about in Washington State?
64.39%.
Is that our numbers here?
In Washington State, 3 million voters voted out of the 4.8 eligible to vote. By age range, 83% of people over 65 voted. Lowest, 18 to 24. 38% of our 18 to 24-year-olds voted. That leaves 61%. I want to talk to the 61%. Why are you not voting? Give me the 3 top things of why you're not voting. I don't have
is it because of all the things we're talking about? Is it because of the fact that nothing gets done?
Correct.
That even the smallest of piddly of progress that attempts to be made gets locked up in court, in Supreme Court. So people aren't incentivized to get out to vote because they see it and just go, what's the point? I mean, basically what we're voting for is kind of the lesser of 2 evils in every situation. We're voting down standard party tickets because we know one party does more than the other party does, right? We know one party's turned into make America great again by keeping everybody who supports them poor, broke, and uneducated, but they think that that's great again. So
I just don't understand. You're voting against your own best interest by voting for the people that you're voting for. When we have receipts, I like to say, when we have receipts, the people who are in our state, who are doing the work, who are working hard, making things happen for everyday working class, middle class folks, they have receipts of what they've done. but you still continue to vote for these people because of sound bites, because they said she was responsible for 2-year-olds getting hooked on fentanyl. Are you serious? You believe that? Seriously? Really? It's Patty Murray's fault? Seriously?
Well, let me just say this, since you mentioned Patty Murray's name. I was so happy to not have to see any more Tiffany Smiley ads.
Thank you.
Within 1 week, the thing declared off. So it's like we haven't even got a mental break from this garbage that goes on. And you wonder why. This is going to be interesting because because I was considering I'm going to have to upgrade my streaming services to go ad free, because I can't listen to this stuff. And so I'm paying the extra $4.99 so that I don't have to listen to anything anymore.
And you know why that is because Facebook won't let you do political ads. So you have to go digital ads. Digital ads are popping up all on your Facebook on the side, when you're on, trying to stream on Google, all the ads are popping up. That's digital ads. And you think the thing is not going to buy a lot of TV time? Oh, he's going to buy a lot of TV time.
Yep. So I'm upgrading $60 more a year so I don't have to listen to him. I just refuse to do it. And
you're like, nope.
I'm not listening to it, and the news.
For the next 2 years, the presidential election doesn't even happen until November 2024, folks. November 2024. The reason why he announced so early is because he's going to start raising money and people are going to give him money. They're still giving him money.
It's also to escape justice.
Oh, absolutely.
So his whole strategy around, staying out of jail. I just hope they have something up their sleeve. I hope there's a way that I can't even believe we are at this moment where that is actually an option, and that whole party has imploded. And so just watching it's going to be fascinating to see how the whites fight amongst each other in the Republican Party, the right whites, to see who's going to win out on, because I'm sure DeSantis is going to try to run.
Oh, I'm sure he's going to try to run too. Especially since the thing has been calling him names. So I'm sure he's going to try to run too.
But the scary part of all of it, so back to the, why do people do this? And when we talk about how there's been such little progress for brown and black people, that the increase in numbers, don't even get me going. I saw somebody post it again on Herschel, and I can't even talk about him tonight. Okay. I can't talk about him, but things are there's been such little progress made for brown and black people that they're going over to this other side and voting with an interest of, the narrative on Republicans was that they're better business people, blah, 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 blah. That's that was the party thing, is that they know business more. It was just a way for them to get more of the money. They're the biggest socialists. Don't even get me going on that topic.
But your states that have the highest percentage of welfare recipients are run by Republicans.
We know.
Your states that have the lowest educational scores are run by Republicans. Your state that has the highest amount of food stamp accessibility, and I'm not talking black folks, I'm talking white folks.
Again,
run by Republicans.
But no shame in people needing help. That's what the government is.
Absolutely not. I've been there, done that.
Government is supposed to be here to help us. The issue around where is the folks who are actually paying their salaries? It's us. Right. It's the working class people who pay these salaries. It's businesses like mine that are paying B&O taxes and help, and high percentages of our revenue to, pay out to keep them in office. And yet we can't get anything done to help us. And we are still climbing out. Many of us, brown and black businesses, are still climbing out and heading into a recession. And so the small businesses, small businesses pay the price for everything. I just got to see what the Democrats are going to do next. Like, what's their next move, and how are we going to deal with? They have to be having this conversation about what are they going to do for the next 2 years?
Stop sending me emails, DCCC. Stop sending me emails. I had to unsubscribe again. Oh, now you want to look like you running for the hills because this thing has announced he's going to be running again. I said unsubscribe. Let me unsubscribe. No, I'm not going to rush and send you $3. Get your shit together. I got to take care of folks that's in my own state. That's what I got to do.
Speaking of that, that's a good point. I actually did want to talk about. Is because they are continuing fundraising, particularly in Georgia. And I read some articles about why that race is still important and all that sort of stuff. And I get it, but let's just break down why those messages could have more impact if something would have actually been done for us. Because look, so I, this past week, had this conversation with somebody at one of my spots that I go to regularly, who she was kind of having, not a meltdown, but she's a server in a pretty high-end restaurant, and that restaurant was taken over with new ownership, and he raised the prices 25%. I went through, and so she came over to me immediately and started talking about stuff that was going on under this new ownership. And what was fascinating listening to is because she said, well, the tipping, people who are tipping, the tipping has gone away to next to nothing. And so I looked at her and I said, well, do you understand the economics around what you're talking about? Because y'all just raised prices 25%. And if we're tipping you 20 to 25%, that's 50%. And we've also been hit with inflation for our groceries and our gas and all the other things. So essentially what these businesses are trying to do is pass on the burden to the consumer to take care of their businesses and their people too. And we can't do it because we're not getting any relief either. And so I'd love to be able to give you 25%, but business problem that we've got to contend with. This is an economic problem. We have to start propping up our businesses, and we've got to do something because this can't sustain. You can't, it's going to shut down. Again, I'm not a wealthy woman. I'm not a broke woman, but I'm not a wealthy woman. And my ability to have something jacked up 50% overnight is not in every angle, right? So we can't do it. We just can't do it. And I don't know what President Biden is going to do about this problem now that he knows that the R's took over the House. I just don't know what this all will mean.
I think you were right when you first said it. I think there's going to be gridlock. I would like to think that the R's that are coming in are hopefully somewhat pragmatic and thinking fairly and thinking that they want to make something happen and to keep our country moving, our economy moving, helping folks with the whole inflation, gas, groceries, whatever. It's getting to the point now I have to be very picky about what restaurants I go to because
you're picky anyhow.
I am very yes. But no, I want to make sure.
Right. You're right. Yeah. We have to be selective about how.
Where you could go out 3 nights a week and have dinner. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I just as soon come over to Cindy's house and have your great beans and rice.
Which are always cooking every weekend. So you're welcome to that anytime.
And I will.
And I have the vino that we need.
Yeah. And I'm just like, today he made a pork roast. I'm like, okay, we can eat on that for 2 or 3 days. I'm like, it's just kind of ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous. So yeah, it's I'm just sick to my stomach that the house was taken.
Yeah, me too. Well, listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break and then we'll come back up. I want to talk about the Washington wins when we come back in the second half. So we'll be right back.
That upper Sacks, our favorite black businesses. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo.
I'm Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not cooking up a batch of my famous wood-flavored chicken, I'm listening to RainierAvenueRadio.world.
Have you ever went over a friend's house to eat and the food just ain't no good?
This message is brought to you by Public Health, Seattle and King County, the Washington Department of Health, Washington Chapter AAP, and Within Reach. No matter where your classroom is, whether in person or online, routine vaccinations protect your child from serious diseases like measles, mumps, and chickenpox, and they keep your child safe, healthy, and thriving. Need help finding a provider? Visit parenthelp123.org or call the Help Me Grow Washington hotline at 1-800-322-2588.
1, 2, get down! What's up, big and little homies? This is Masvita Maraire, host of Seattle Sports Weekly on Rainier Avenue Radio.world, your one-stop shop for Seattle sports. We cover preps, we cover college, we cover pro, we cover it all. Huskies, Mariners, Seahawks, Garfield, South, Roosevelt, Petro, King County. This is where you want to listen to for all the sports that's happening in Seattle. Seattle Sports Weekly on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
See a bad
Women Empowerment Talk Radio, your roadmap to business success. Tune in every Sunday at 3 p.m. on Rainier Avenue Radio.world, providing resources and sharing motivational experiences from the everyday entrepreneur. Tune in Women Empowerment Talk Radio every Sunday, 3 p.m. on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Has your small business experienced property damage? Apply for the Storefront Repair Fund to receive a $2,000 grant to help cover storefront repair costs. The Seattle Office of Economic Development is investing nearly $2 million to help businesses recover from the economic impact caused by damages to their storefronts. Grants will help cover costs such as broken windows, broken doors, broken locks, and etching on windows. Applications will remain open until all funding is awarded. Application assistance is available in multiple languages at 206-684-8090. For more information and to apply for the Storefront Repair Fund, go to seattle.gov/economic development.
You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio, your community radio station.
That up the sacks, I favor black businesses. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to HeartBeat Radio and Podcast. I'm your host, Cindi Bright, with my co-host, Joy Stanford. We are having a conversation about the thing going on back in DC, and but I want to talk about some local things here in Washington State as well. Before we pivot to that, I was just trying to look up the news on the women protests that are going on. Is it in Iran where that is happening?
I didn't see that.
It's a huge deal. Maybe the producer can look for it for me while we're talking with the women who are standing in solidarity. And there's a lot of globally. And so, I want to talk about women's issues here quickly too. So, let's see if he can find that, and then we'll come back to that, because I wanted to talk more about the need for women to collectively work together more, particularly as we start to head, with this thing getting the jump on him running for the top seat in the country. We need to figure out strategically what we do as women collectively working together. It's a little hard, but let's go into Washington State here, because last week at this time we were only 24 hours in post the
right.
And so a lot more has occurred over the week. So there's several key races that I know we're really happy for some outcomes. So we are happy that Lisa Mannion solidified the King County prosecutor job. That was a job well done. So I'm happy to have her win. We talked about Claudia Kaufman in the 47th who won.
Yes.
That was a good win. Secretary of State, the person overlooking our voting rights, Steve Hobbs, solidified his win. What were some of the other ones we wanted to make sure
Sharon
we were?
Shoemake out in Whatcom County. Doug Erickson was a Republican who died of COVID December of 2021. And she stepped up to fill that seat against the young man who was appointed, Simon Sesnick, and she beat him. And I'm pretty excited about that one. Emily Randall had to protect her seat over here in the 26th. And it's looking like she's going to hold on to her Senate seat here in the 26th.
That was Emily Randall. They haven't called that one yet? Okay. And one I was kind of disappointed. I was looking at it yesterday was Natasha Hill over in the Spokane area. Boy, she was a strong candidate over there. So
she was.
I'm
going to take a look at her numbers because I want to see her numbers. She ran a great race.
Yeah, she really did. She was on top of it. Like impressed.
And so, but like where I live, it's folks are not ready for it. They're just not ready for it.
What is it?
But look, she got 43.58% of the votes. 95,000 people voted for her.
So that's a very strong statement as a first-time candidate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kathy McMorris got 56%, but that young, and we both met her and talked to her and had her on the show. You had her on your show. And so wow, that's all I can say is wow. I hope she's not done. Some people like Cindi Bright are one and done.
I was going to say, don't put my name in that. I'm not ready
but
for that.
I hope Natasha Hill's not. I really do. I feel like she could get that seat. She could get that seat. But then let's look at, so I'm going to go back. Let's look at Spokane. 300 and registered voters. What do we got? 359,000. Only 221,000 voted. 61.5% of registered voters in that.
Those area. Are, if I'm wrong, but those numbers both here and over there, and by the way, we had quoted King County last week, and it came up considerably from the first 24 hours because they were
definitely.
But those are solid numbers, 60% coming out to vote because for midterm elections, because in the past it's been in the 30s and 40s in the past.
Where are the other 40%, and how much of the other 40% would have voted for Natasha Hill?
Yes. And, just as a country, I mean, you talked about the younger numbers, the younger people.
62.54% voted in Spokane. So that's pretty good for midterm.
Yeah. So that's
pretty good.
What did King County end up being at?
Oh, yeah. I was looking at that today. 65.63. So you had 1.3 million people cast their ballots in King County.
All right. So is that the highest return then?
Oh, no, hon. San Juan is 78%. So no, they were not the highest. You would think them being one of the largest, if not the largest. And actually, Garfield County was 78.6%. We got some counties that were in their 70s, several counties in their Lincoln County, 75%.
But still much smaller community. So
much smaller.
Numbers would
but King County is 65, and I think it's a great showing for the county itself.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to go back to, because we have located a visual of the women protesting, because I do want to talk about the women issues. Let's have a look at what's going on in Iran. Longest running protests that's going there.
Why did they do that? Oh Lord.
There's a lot of women. I saw some women, the women going ballistic. I'm not sure if that's the right one to produce. So there were some other ones I saw tons of women.
With just women were protesting.
Just women were protesting. Yeah. That's not the one I was thinking of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
But let's talk about also too the fact that we are tripling our Indigenous representation in our state legislature to 3. Deborah LaCann.
We're tripling it to 3 people.
Huh?
We're tripling it to 3 people.
But you know what? I'm excited about it because that means we've got that marginalized and unrepresented group are now organizing and finding themselves to where they're like, okay, we need to get ourselves together because this is not going to happen if we don't. And there's several groups, including Emerge Washington, who are like, we're like reaching out to Indigenous women. We're like, you can do this. You're already working within your tribes, within your communities. Now we want you to just do it on a bigger scale. PUD commissioner.
Let's talk about who the 3 are. We have Claudia Kaufman,
Deborah LaCanoff, and Chris Stearns. He run against our friend Shakria Lowe, who, let me just say, girlfriend, you ran a great race. You ran a great race. And our friend Karen Besserman used to say the best worst case scenario is dem on dem, emerge sister on emerge sister.
Again, I am going to come back to that because that's an important topic. That is an important issue.
That doesn't get talked about much.
It doesn't get talked about or resolved. And so what happens with the Democrat on Democrat race is the exact same issue of what an organization must do to progress equity, to progress racial equity. You will never progress. There's a photo that went around for a long time about the 3 kids that are standing on stools, and it shows the difference between equality and equity, right? The only way we're going to get more women of color, more people of color in elected office is that we have to put a disproportionate amount of resources behind her, even if she's running against another Democrat. And there's this whole thing about fairness, and they have to worry about if you don't win, then have I pissed off the other person? Welcome to our life, right? Welcome to our life. And so the fact that you don't want to have to tell that Dem, who is likely may not be of color,
right?
They're not used to being told no. And so no one wants to tread in that territory, except that the only way you're going to progress this is you've got to do something different. And you've got to put more resources. The game as played gets us to where we are today, which is we have a Black vice president who is, arguably by optics, kept in her place, who has won one of the highest seats, but we don't get to hear much from her. Right. So again, kept in the background. Will she run, for the president? Will we elect a Black woman in office? I think so. I think there's enough moves across the country that would put her in. Yes. But what we have to endure in that process, these are the kind of things we need to be talking about as a Democratic political party on equity and what the things that you need to do, and get uncomfortable and start dealing with even if there's a fallout. There is no way they're going to get seats, and if we have to wait on our turn or wait for the seat to open up, that's never going to happen.
First of all, there's no turn. You know what I say. I've been saying this since 2018. I don't want to hear nobody say it's our turn. Get in line. Where's the line? There's no line. When you feel moved to do whatever you need to do, just do it. I feel like nobody should be telling someone else, 1, you're not going to win. 2, it's not your turn. 3, you got to get in line, pay your dues. Most people have paid their dues. Most women have paid their dues. Most Black women have paid their dues. They've been working in our communities for a very long time, because both of us did before we even thought about running for office. We just did it. We were just doing what we were doing, going through life.
For free.
Thank you. Never being paid. Never. I'm like, and then, oh, you're going to pay me half of what I could get on the open market as an employee. That's what I kept thinking. I was like, oh, $56,000 a year. Wow. That doesn't seem like a lot for all I got to do. And I got to run for office every 2 years.
But it explains the colonization, right? Because again, it hasn't had to be a livable wage, because most of the people who've had power have always been the white women with husbands that pay their bills. And so
or
now
come from wealth, came from wealth.
Exactly. And so now we're in this, again, that's another challenge that Democrats need to take on, is how do we deal with, if you want more people in positions of power, then you're going to have to make that a living wage, because I've seen our elected officials, literally, many of them don't take care of themselves. You can see they're running themselves into the ground, because they have to they either have to hold a job and serve in elected office. You can't live on $50,000 in the state of Washington. You just can't. So that is an issue that you can't just keep saying or watching us as, Black women continue to suck it up and kill ourselves to be able to try to help make change. We've got to change the system.
Right.
So why can't we pay, the congressional people make, they're almost at $200,000 a year, plus all the perks they get from all their speaking gigs and all the things that put them, look at their, have you ever, I'm curious if people even do this, because I do it, mostly out of curiosity, to look at the financial statements of because you have to release your financial statements. It's public information when you run for office. So I went on and I looked at Kamala Harris's and just some different people, because I was trying to see from where they're coming from, right? Where they start from. Are they starting from the end zone, or are they starting midfield, or are they starting right where the touchdown? So it's fascinating to look at that and I went through Washington state legislators to look at their financial disclosures to see who's got what. So it's an interesting thing to observe, because then you can see why they're able to get elected. You can see that.
And it is tough. We know several people who have a day job, and they are either a senator or a representative in the House.
When I ran, my form was easy to fill out. I just didn't have all the, because they don't want to know all your assets, right? And I was just like, nope.
Okay, here's my 401k. Didn't have a house in 2018.
Yep, me either.
Did not have a house in 2018. So
that's just those are just the real issues of what it takes. And part of the reason why there's just no interest in getting involved. I mean, nobody can make a living. You just have to have somebody who
was it. Mona Dasa used to say she was the only renter in the legislature. I was like, how is that even possible?
Yep.
Serious? Oh my God. Whoever it was, it's just like, then there's no lived experience of being a renter versus a homeowner. It floors me. It just floors me.
And she had a business she ran also outside of the legislature.
Yep.
And you wonder why. I mean, she's no longer there, but you wonder why we can't hold on to if we're turning the BIPOC people as quick as we're getting them elected. We don't have a system to support them. We don't pay them well. I mean, it's just a tragic. It's a train wreck waiting to happen. And I mean, I bought Powerball tickets. I mean, we all try to figure out ways to just take care of paying the mortgage off so you don't have to worry about a roof. Like all the things that normal folks have to worry about. That's not the people that are being looked at. That's not with the fight that they're coming. So
not even at our congressional and federal level.
I know.
mean, some of them are just, everyday folks. But a lot of them, they just come from wealth and a silver spoon in their mouths and handed the key, on a silver platter. And it's like, it was always known that I would be, running for this office and taking this office. So,
yep.
Seriously? I mean, because I don't know about you, but when I've done a couple of panels where people like, did you always want to? No, I'm not that kid. Oh, I'm going to run for office that was Emily Randall. That was not me. That was not me. I never thought of it, but I did think it was cool when the mayor of my town ran and won. And she was a friend of one of my good friends' mom, Claire Mack. Shout out to San Mateo, California. When she ran and won, and I was like, a Black woman can run to be mayor. That's cool. Because you just didn't see it. And then I was like, holy smoke. She can keep that position too. That's really cool. And she did some great things. So it was at that point, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But I didn't say, I'm going to run for office. I never said that. I don't think either one.
What are some areas here that you think in Washington State could use, if you think about a mayoral seat, could use some Black people in office there? Where do you think?
Spokane, Natasha Hill, run for mayor. I think we have a Black mayor in Tacoma already.
We need one in Bellevue.
We need one in Bellevue. I'd love to see a Black mayor.
And I say that because that town is hugely diverse. There's quite after the first of the year.
Bellingham be nice to have a Black mayor too.
After the first of the year, when we start getting more into issues, school board races are coming up next, and there's some stuff. Again, the proper S word on air, but there's some stuff going on in the Bellevue School District that is fascinating to pay attention to.
Here too.
It is a highly brown community, I should say. There are a lot of, with Microsoft being in the Redmond area and the huge Chinese community that's there, it's some fascinating stuff going on. I stay wired into it pretty intently to understand what's going on. And we have a couple of, Bellevue has a couple of city council races that are people's terms are coming up. And so one brown, one Black. And so it's going to be interesting. I've been watching to see is any progress. It's their mayor is not one of the most progressive women, I should say. And she's got a town that is heavily business. And so it's just going to be interesting. To see
that will be fascinating. The municipal races that are going to be coming up in 2023. It's to me setting the stage for 2024. In the work that I'm doing, that's what I'm going to do. So for the next, we're already at the middle of November. I am looking to start talking to some women about running for these positions in 2023.
Let's do that right now while we're here, because let's talk about the Emerge program really quick, because Emerge program is a program that trains women how to run for public office.
Democratic women.
And their closing deadline is coming up here in the next week or so, if I'm correct.
Yes. In fact, is it Friday? It might even be Friday, but I say, if you're even interested, please get your applications in. We'd love to interview you and get you. Competitive application process, but that doesn't mean that everybody can't get in. And if not this year, then next year. So I'm a proponent of Emerge Washington. I'm an alumni. I sit on the board, or cabinet. I think I did much better in my second run than I did in my first run because I knew more and I understood it better. But now being on the outside, I know even more and I can see it even better. And so that's why we are always asked, you and I both are always asked to be on panels and talk about our experience. And one of the things I talk about is my run was completely different from my friend Cindy's run. And we're both Democratic women. Why was that? No one talks about that. Because we just had completely different stories. And I found that fascinating. National Women's
You ran against a Republican and I ran
against
a Dem. And so
a very wealthy Dem.
Yes, a very wealthy Dem. I like her though. I have no hard feelings towards her. That there was an open seat. She wasn't in the seat, but the fascinating part of that campaign, it was that I ran against a Dem, but more important, it was how it was set up. And so the Dems will be pissed at me for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyhow, because they build their succession. So before somebody even leaves, the person who was in that seat already had handpicked who they wanted to sit. And so again, this is white people stuff, right? They're used to just having, it just is. They have access to everything. And so they don't even think about the competitiveness of opening it up so that you can see if you have better candidates or more qualified people. They automatically line up. And so that's their system that they have started. It's just, when we use their system against them is when they have a problem, when we do the same things that they do. Because if you remember when Shasti Conrad ran for the King County, the chair of the King County Democrats, she put a slate of people forward and they went ballistic over it, but that's exactly what they do. So, I just remember all those conversations that were going on at that time because I was trying to help my legislative district understand why what Shasti just did was no different than what just happened in our own district. And we allowed it to happen here. But when somebody of color goes out and uses the same game plan, then all of a sudden it's a problem. And so it's the same thing. It's in business, right? The goalpost is always changing. When we
move it a little further,
Oh no, that's not the rules. Oh no, you need to wait your turn. So
I didn't understand that until I met you and you started telling me about your book. And then as I'm reading your book, I'm like, holy schmoly, this happened to me. You don't have a degree. I went and got a degree. Oh, we don't have an opening. Oh, you're overqualified. Oh, you're not qualified. Now you need a master's degree.
Did you see, we're almost out of time here, but did you see what I posted today? And I posted it because I want our audience, I want the people who follow me to see what it means to share power and to do things different. And so, asked for some references for some work after 5,000 meetings with this organization that I know is not serious about actually doing anything. And so, can we have 3 references from you about your work after you've put me through hoops left and right and haven't paid me for 1 hour of meeting with you? And so I said, I'm happy to give you those references. Equally, I would like to have 3 references from you from 3 Black people in your organization so that I can ask them questions. And so the look on the faces when I said it, again, used to being in power, not understanding we're going to share this power, or, because you don't get me and you don't get my work and you don't get access to my information and my network unless you're willing to share your power and let me do my due diligence to see if I even want to set foot in your place. And so that's where we are now as a nation. That's where we are in business. Like you can't have our money if you won't have us. And so
that's right. That's right. And I also liked your other posts. The right women can work together to accomplish great things. We just have to stop tearing each other down.
Yes, that's a whole, we can do a whole series.
That's a whole
show on women's issues. Anyhow.
It's not a competition. It's a collaboration.
It's about trust. It's about trust. And so, and let's just be clear that there's one demographic of women that have a lot of work to do to gain the trust of Black women. And that's where I'll end the show tonight. So thank you, Joy, for joining me again tonight and having this conversation. To our listeners, Bonnie, the people that were here tonight on the feed, Gwen, all of you who are helping us with this, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we look forward to seeing you next week. I think will be our last. Oh, no, we may not be on air next week because it's Thanksgiving. We're not going to see you before Thanksgiving. So we're off air next week. For everybody, have a happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you after the holiday.
Half that up in sacks, I favor black businesses. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo.